Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Yes. And on today's episode, I'm laughing. You guys will hear about it soon. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing one of their past projects. We will let you decide if it was good or bad or just plain ugly. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is coming soon signs. As soon as you close on a property that you will be renovating, put a coming soon sign with your company name and phone number in the front yard because you want to start marketing from day one. You can get an inexpensive metal yard sign for about $50 and use it over and over again for each project. You can also add follow our progress at and put your website so interested parties or nosy neighbors can see what's going on inside. And I mentioned the nosy neighbors because some of them may want to pick their neighbors and they will market the property for you. We currently have a project in a very hot part of downtown Durham that is almost finished. We have been getting calls from our sign for months now. So when we list it, we already have a list of potential buyers. So go out there and find yourself some coming soon signs. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us RAIN member Kaci Janson. Kaci is the founder of A Boy and His Dog, Inc., a real estate investment company based in northern Nevada. With her healthcare background and 20 plus years of Reno residency, she acquires and transforms single family and multifamily properties into high performing investment assets. As soon as I met Kaci, I knew we were instant friends. So it is my pleasure to welcome Kaci Janson to the show.
Well, thank you. Hi.
So I'm laughing about the whoop whoop because you just became a RAIN member. Yay!
I did. I'm so excited. I saw a little ad on Facebook and I was like, ooh, I want to see this. And then I thought, ooh, Jen's doing it. I'm in.
So I have like a secret fantasy where I'm in a place where there's a whole bunch of real estate investors and I just get up on stage. I'm like, whoop, whoop. And a whole bunch of people go, whoop, whoop. And that's my little RAIN call. So I was teaching Kaci about it before we get on here. So, by the way, you were in, what was it? What'd you do before? Healthcare. What was the healthcare?
So my background, I have my doctorate in physical therapy. So I did physical therapy for about 15 years. And then most recently I moved over into the pain management side and I was helping a doc run his intrathecal pump program. And and then got into real estate and decided I worked too much.
So you're Dr. Kaci. And forgive me, I had forgotten that. I just see healthcare and because I was in healthcare industry, but I did insurance. So I was like, what is it? But I totally remember you're a physical therapist. Duh. All right. So I want to hear A Boy and His Dog, Inc. Where the heck did that name come from?
So we were challenged about 3 years ago by one of our mentors. And she said, we were just starting out. And she said, hey, I have two partners. And she said, I want you three to come up with a business name. And she kind of just left it at that. And it took me about 60 seconds to figure it out.
Really?
Yes, it was so easy for me. I really wanted something that meant something to me. I wanted something that every time I saw the logo on my jacket or my business card, or I saw it on the email, it reminded me exactly why I was doing this. And at the time, my oldest son was not quite 3 years old, and we have a Great Dane. And those two are like the best buds. And actually, my Great Dane is sitting right here next to me sleeping, because now she's an old lady. She's 9.
Aw.
But they are still the best of friends. And every time I would post, them snuggling on social media, I would always say a boy and his dog. And it just kind of became a catchphrase for my life. And so as soon as she said that, I was like, I know what it is.
I love that. And I remember, so the conference I met you was the Legacy Wealth group, Tim Brott's group for multifamily commercial, or just commercial in general. And there was a lot of men in the room. And so I saw you sitting by yourself, and I just beelined right to you. And then I think within 30 seconds, we were showing pictures of our dogs to each other. So
yeah.
I was like, I love her. So we became fast friends, and you are an inspiration to me because I have yet to get into the commercial multifamily market. And we are actually going to talk about one of your deals today. And you said you learned a ton from this deal, and that's going to help the listeners. And so I'm really looking forward to it. But let's go back really quick. Let's talk about your 2 business partners. Let's give a shout out to Len and Corey. And how do you know these gentlemen?
So I picked him up at the airport one time. No, I'm just joking. One of them happens to be my father, and one of them happens to be my dad.
Your father and your dad?
Oh my gosh. Yes. One of them is my father, and one of them is my dad. One of them is my father, and one's my brother.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the funny thing is, when we travel and it's just the 3 of us together, like, people always assume that I am the wife of one of them, and no one can ever figure it out. And I'm like, no, I am related to them, but I am not married to either of them.
That is funny. And they're a trip. I had the pleasure of meeting them at the conference as well. And I remember your dad coming up to me and say, don't you get my daughter in trouble? I'm like, no, sir. I'm like, all right, let's go to the bar. So
we sneak off to the bar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So fast friends, immediately, I knew it. Let's get into multifamily. Now, did you do anything like single family flips, anything, or you just literally ripped off the Band-Aid and went straight for the multifamily?
No, we had been investing for probably 3 years before we took down our first multifamily property. We have some some single families in Indianapolis, Charlotte, and then Kansas City. And then we also have a flipping JV that is outside of Charlotte, that we do about 30 to 50 homes a year.
A flipping JV, so a joint venture.
Yes.
And who is that with? I don't know about this.
So we have, with the, actually the connection that we made buying our single family homes, we came in contact with a guy, and they do hundreds and hundreds of flips a year. And so we fund one of their branches in Charlotte. Wow. And so, yeah, so we, in 2020, we did 31 homes. And then in 21, we did closer to 50.
So tell me about that structure. So it's you're in a totally different state, and then someone's boots on the ground, and you guys are joint venturing?
Yep. So we basically, we're their bank. We just put in funds for them. We're very hands off. It's very passive for us. Okay. We just throw money at it and then get it back at the end of the year.
Well, I am also in North Carolina. If you ever need to throw money a little bit more to the east, I'm here with open arms ready for you.
Perfect. I like it.
All right. So I want to dive into this project and tell us about this deal. How many units is it? Where is it located? All the fun, juicy details.
Okay. So we are currently focusing our multifamily efforts in the Omaha, Nebraska area. It's got a ton of projects that are coming up that make this really, really juicy for us. The property itself is in downtown Omaha. It is between Creighton and the University of Nebraska Medical Centers.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it's real juicy. It's in an older neighborhood, and you know those older neighborhoods that just have the pride of ownership. They're just these just sweet little neighborhoods. It's an older building, so it does have a little bit of a value add. It was built in '64.
Okay.
So the previous owner had done some renovations. It's 38 units. It's 35 1-1s and then three studios.
Okay.
So it's got, it's mostly, 1 bedrooms, but it's got some potential that we really liked, because you can do traditional leases, but you can also do the short-term rentals for like traveling nurses or the traveling med students. And it is the ideal location.
I bet. Wow. What a great idea. And I'm assuming you have to furnish those for them.
We will. So we are going to furnish, we're going to start with 5.
Okay.
We can't decide if we're going to do 3 of the 1 bedrooms and 2 of the studios or vice versa.
So just a little nugget we just learned as far as Airbnbs. So we just bought a quad in downtown Raleigh, and I was researching the neighborhood. Was there anything against Airbnbs? And there's a couple other around there. But when we went, because we do have to do a permit for it, so for each unit. And what we found out is in Raleigh, so I don't know what Omaha is, but in Raleigh you can only, depending on how many units, so ours is 4, you can do 25% short-term rental or 2 units, whichever is greater. So so we had big plans to make, and to do the short-term rentals, and we can't do it now, but we will do it like what you were saying. We're going to do more executive, which is going to be the longer 30 plus days, which we are allowed to do. But yeah, there's lots of crazy Airbnb rules out there. So just keep that in mind. And that's not, normal everywhere. It's just, we already purchased it and then found out after the fact as we were applying for the permit. So just a little nugget for you and the listeners out there. So tell me about the building. So it's built in the 60s. Is it brick? Is it, what is the structure like?
It is. It's just a brick building. It's let's see, it's actually 4 buildings. So it's on a corner. So they're on 2 different streets. They kind of, make a corner for themselves. But they're just old, just those stable brick buildings.
I love brick homes.
Yes. They're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right. All right. So you have a couple studios, and then most of them are 1 bedroom, 1 bath. How did you find this property?
So we already have properties in Omaha. So we have a management company. We have our property manager, and they also have a realtor and broker that work very, very closely in their business. And so we have fairly quickly become one of their top clients because we have a lot of units with them. And so the broker came in and said, hey, we've got these buildings that this guy wants to sell. They were not on the market at the time. And they brought them to us, and we were like, well, yeah, we'll look at them. And then in the meantime, he did end up putting them on the market. So it was on the market for 6 days before we got it under contract and said, yeah, we want these.
Okay. So I know you live in Reno. Does Len or Corey live in Omaha?
They do not. They both live in Montana. So we do not invest where we live.
Oh my God. How far away is it?
Probably about 1,000 miles.
And how did you end up in Omaha?
So we got our first multifamily there. We did our first multifamily deal just outside of Omaha. It's just across the creek. It's like 10 miles. So it's right there. And when we started digging into Omaha and all the things that were going on and coming into Omaha, we kind of dug our heels in and just stayed. And so we've been really focusing on the surrounding areas for the last year or so.
I mean, I'd be scared to death to be so far away from an investment property, but it sounds like you have a great relationship with that property management company, and now they're even bringing you more deals. So
Yes, we have an amazing power team there. And it's definitely, I mean, we fly out a couple times a year, but I mean, it's definitely a trusted relationship. It's, they got your babies.
yes, exactly. So what was the asking price and what was the actual purchase price?
The asking price was 2.65 million and we ended up paying 2.2.
Okay. Wow, that's a big difference. How'd you get it down?
We went in with the inspections. There was some issues. We also knew that the condition of some of the units and the work that still had to go in. He knew he was a little high.
Okay.
So, but yeah, we ended up getting down with the just with the work that had to be done. And some of it, there was some major work that had to be done.
So let's dive into that. What needed to be done to get this up to, Kaci standards here?
So have you ever heard of Federal Pacific panels?
No. Oh, the electrical panels.
Yes.
I have. All of them had those.
Yes.
Well, tell the audience what's up with them.
Okay. So Federal Pacific panels, they are way old school federal or panels that used to be put in, and they were very, very common.
Yes.
They have since become obsolete and actually cannot be in buildings anymore. They need to be upgraded into current panels. So what we found out through our inspection was that these buildings had Federal Pacific panels. So we went to our insurance guy and said, what do we do? And he goes, well, I can't insure those.
Exactly. I knew that was coming.
So, right. So we're like, well, I mean, the buildings are currently insured. So we went back to the seller and said, hey, can we talk to your insurance guy? We'd like to just assume your insurance.
Smart.
So we went back to his insurance guy and said, hey, we would like to assume the current insurance. And the guy said, no, nope. And we're like, well, then we would like to just start a new policy with you then. And, because we are having trouble insuring these with the panels in there. And the guy said, what panels? So they had been insuring these buildings for like 12 years and did not know they had Federal Pacific panels in them.
Wow. So tell the listeners, like, what happens, like, why are they so bad?
So I don't know all of the details of them. I know they are a fire risk.
That's what I've heard. Yes.
Yes. So I don't know, I don't know any of the specifics. I don't know any of the stats or the percentages, but I do know that they were basically recalled because of the fire issues that they were having.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we actually ended up, how's this for badassery or maybe just ballsy? I don't even know. We switched out those. We paid $100,000 to have those panels switched out the week before we closed.
Oh my God. Before you closed, you didn't even own it. So you threw $100,000 into a project and you didn't even own it yet.
We did not even own it because we could not insure it if we had those. So we spent the money up front, had the panels closed, and then had insurance that day because we couldn't do it any other way. And we were not willing to go even a single day without insurance.
That's very smart, and keeping things on the up and up, and shame on the previous seller to do that and not even share that with their insurance company. Goodness gracious.
Well, and the sellers, they even gave us a hard time about getting in there and getting the electricians in there. I mean, they were less than amicable.
Wow. All right. So electrical boxes for each one of these units. What else needed to be done? What was on your scope of work here for repairs?
So 23 units have been updated. So the rest of them have not. So we have the rest of them, and some of them have been they were painted and they were updated. And I use the air quotes updated because they were updated with like carpet and linoleum and stuff that just
won't last.
Is not going to last the test of time. And it's also really not the standards that we have our buildings at anyways. So, I mean, they will be last on our list to update, but they will definitely be updated to our standards.
Gotcha.
We add that. But a lot of it's just lipstick, floors, paint, a couple of the kitchens we're going to redo, but it's not major renovations. We did that before we bought it.
That's nuts, by the way. So a lot of times for past projects, when we're doing single family home, we ask what the ARV is. We ask, obviously we're talking about repairs, same thing, but what were the current rents? Do you remember?
They were.
And by the way, was it even occupied or was this completely vacant?
So it was occupied.
Okay.
The sellers knew they were selling, so they had pretty much taken off all rental requirements and all standards so they could pad the numbers and fill the building.
Oh my goodness.
So we do have a few tenants that are very colorful and that will be finding other homes to live in. We have our property manager has been going hard. I want to say like 10 of the units are on month to months.
Okay.
They don't even have them in a lease. They're about 85% occupied. So it's actually pretty decent right now. The ones that we currently are vacant ones are being renovated.
Nice. And then as the other ones move out, then you'll go in and renovate or just update, get rid of the linoleum and carpet. Okay. So
we had a few units that were vacant that were updated. So what we did is we offered those to the units that were not updated.
Yep.
A couple of them moved over and we have started renovating their not updated units.
But you're bringing up the rents.
Yes. We're all at market value for rents right now. We have one person that's been in there quite a while that's not quite at market value yet, but they're also on a month to month, so that will be changing.
Gotcha. And what are the current rents?
They are between, I think we have a couple of the studios at $750.
Okay.
And then the one bedrooms, we have a couple of one bedrooms that are bigger and nice that we have at like $1,100.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So important question here. How did you finance this at over $2 million? So
we did a syndication
for
this one. And this was our first syndication.
Explain quickly, just in layman's terms, what a syndication is.
Basically just bringing a bunch of partners and bringing a bunch of money in together and pooling it and paying for it that way.
Gotcha.
So we did have a 75% LTV conventional loan from a small bank. And then we did the rest with investors, with our syndication. And we learned a lot.
Okay. This is what I want to hear about.
Here's the nitty gritty.
Okay.
So yeah, we had amazing mentors. We had actually used Tim Broth as a mentor, and they helped us a ton on this. We had an attorney that walked us through everything. One of the biggest things, so we were supposed to close on January 3rd, which that was our number one learn is you don't do a syndication at the end of the year.
Oh.
People are busy.
Yep.
People are trying to figure out taxes. Businesses close because it's the holidays. People are going on vacation because it's the holidays. People are just hard to get hold of in general. It was very extremely difficult to do and carry it out at the end of the year.
So it's like wrangling cats, like herding cats to get them to the closing day. All right.
Wet rabid cats. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it was an experience for sure. So, but yeah, so we went through, we did the syndication. It ended up closing a couple of weeks later, just due to some, bank stuff. I don't know. Has a closing date ever happened on the day it was supposed to?
Not lately.
Yeah.
I do want to ask really quick. So the bank, was it in Omaha or was it in close to where one of you all lived?
It is in Omaha.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had a student who was asking, because he lives in a different state and was trying to refinance a property in a different state. So I told him to find a local bank in that state. So good to know.
We typically we like small banks in those areas because they know the area, and you can say, hey, I've got it on, 123 Main Street, and they know exactly where that is.
Yep.
And they're like, great area. Yep. We'll take that one.
And, they want your business. So they're going to do everything in their power to, treat you well. So the loan you got from the bank, and then you have the syndication with a pool of investors that are putting their money in. What was the repair budget at this point?
So we had $180,000 in repairs.
Okay.
100 of that was spent up front with the panels.
Right.
So that was right off the top. I mean, we burnt that bridge before we even got to it.
That was very smart. So you have the bank here, you have your syndication, all your group of investors. What was the time frame, or are they like, how long are those investors earning money off of this, shall I say?
So we initially had proposed that in 3 years we would buy our investors out.
Gotcha.
And we would have all of the repairs done in 2 years. That would give us just a year of just really good, solid cash flow. And then at 3 years, we would refinance, cash our investors out, and then move on to the next one. What we ended up doing is, because it was the end of the year and it was hard to fill that syndication. So we sweetened the deal and we decided to give them lifelong equity of the property.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So what are they making off it?
So that number I don't have specifics on.
But it's a certain percentage.
Yeah, it is. And it is, I mean, it's a great percentage. I do remember that. I don't remember what the specific is.
And they get like monthly checks or quarterly checks. How does that work?
They do quarterly.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So basically you found an investor friend and said, park your money here. And now they are going to get checks for the lifetime that you own this property.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
It is. It was a fantastic deal, and it still didn't go as planned.
So tell me about the timeline, because I know you mentioned, the 2 years to finish all the renovations. So tell us about the timeline.
So we took about 2 months to close on it. And then I would say our renovations started pretty quickly, like within a few weeks.
Good.
Our poor property manager got COVID. Oh. So we closed on Friday and he had COVID on Monday.
Oh no.
So our poor guy, there was about a 3-week delay that, not a ton happened. It still was moving forward and being managed and everything else. But, that was a little bit of a delay. We have also, with COVID land and supplies and workforce and all of that stuff, we were planning on doing 4 units a month, and we're going to have to back it down to 2 or 3 units a month. So, hopefully when all of this stuff picks back up, we'll be able to make up some of that time. But for right now, we are budgeting 2 years to finish out those rehabs.
So what didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen?
Oh, so we closed on a Friday.
Okay.
The following Friday, our major investor, who had about 60% of the money in, sent us an email and said, hey, my finance guy says, I can't do this.
And you've already closed.
We'd already closed.
Oh,
we closed a week before. I can't do this. I can't let you give them this. I can't let you give them this money. It was a 1031 exchange. He's like, it's just not something I think you should do. And so the guy walked a week after we closed.
Wow.
With several $100,000.
How do you get them to commit? Is it a contract that you have with them?
It is. So there's a paperwork and they go through the attorney and they're all signed and everything. This guy, he was a 1031 exchange. So we were kind of waiting on some things for his 1031 exchange. And they were working very closely with the attorney. So as far as how that went, I'm not super sure just because it was the attorney and him. But yeah, after we closed, he walked.
Wow. So how do you fix that?
We scrambled and we had some money that we had in other projects that we did not want to pull from these other projects. But at that point, we really didn't have another choice. We had looked for some other investors and we were kind of in this weird little donut hole because we were doing projects that were too small for the big investors that had, several $1 million that they just needed to park.
Right.
And this was too small for them. And then it was a little bit too big for the little guys that were like, hey, I have $20,000, $50,000, $60,000. And they're like, well, I can get it, but I can't get it in the 8 weeks that you need it or the 12 weeks that you need it. I need a couple of months to be able to, get with my broker or whoever and move it around. So we were in this weird little donut hole where it kind of wasn't working for either group that we had our really close and best connections with. So yeah, we scrambled. It is a happy ending. We do own the property. We are keeping it. It is a buy and long-term hold.
I'm sweating over here just thinking, to have that money pulled and thank goodness you had the source to,
yes,
throw other funds at it. So,
oh yeah, we would have been up a creek for sure. But yeah, so that was one of the things that we actually learned is even though your syndication is full, don't stop looking for that money.
Right.
Keep talking to people, keep putting it out there. Just don't stop. Don't get comfortable.
And a lot of the listeners, that's one of their biggest fears is funding deals. And there are tons of investors out there that have money they need to park somewhere to earn some interest. And you were talking about 1031 exchanges. You can have money in a self-directed 401k and use that. You can take out a home equity line of credit against your home. You're paying 5% for your home equity line of credit, but they lend it to you at 10%, at 11%, whatever it is. So there's so many different options out there. There's people who have money in savings accounts that are earning $1 a month and just not doing anything. So, that's a big fear that most people have, and just getting past that hump and realizing, people need your project to invest in. So yes. I'm glad you said that, but yeah, it's to be that large. And I understand because you have the, super big investors who have and it wasn't big enough for them. And then it's way too big for the other one. So what a tough spot to be in. So I know you put money in there, but have you since replenished and found other investors?
So that's what we are working on. We are still open to taking on investors. And right now, technically our syndication is full because we did fill it, but we can always go in and backfill it. So we can always go in and take on the investor and say, these are our terms. And it's been a process. We will 100% do a syndication again. We will 100% do it differently.
So what's different this time?
Mostly communication. I feel like we were blindsided. So we also, with all of the political stuff and everything happening, we did have another investor back out because she was 100% in the stock market.
Oof.
So she had to back out because that was basically her living money. So communication, if people feel like they're in the know and whatever, and they're not afraid to talk to you. And I feel like, especially with our major investor, he didn't tell us until it was like, last minute. And I feel like if we, had a little bit better communication with him, he would have been like, hey guys, this is going on. Like, how can we fix this? I really want to do this, but how can we do it? Right. Instead of just saying, hey, this guy won't let me do it.
Yikes. All right. Yeah. So let's wrap this up here. Is this a total shit show, or are you actually making some money on this?
We are making money on it.
Very good. Yes. So it is cash flowing. Do you know those numbers?
It cash flows about $80,000 a year.
Wow.
So not bad.
Now, does that go to 80,000 to you or 80,000 to the syndicated investors?
It goes 80,000 back to the conglomerate. Yes. So it will be, it'll be split, and, everybody will be paid out of that.
Wonderful. So your investors are happy. You guys are getting some cash flow. You're still doing renovations to it. So there's still probably opportunity to increase rents at some point. And
yes. And once the medical center expansion is, so Omaha is doing a $4 billion medical expansion.
Wow.
So it's bringing in 3,400 high paying medical jobs. I mean, we just happen to have this building right here. I mean, geez.
Well, I think that is amazing and great work to you and your team to find this. I appreciate you sharing it. Syndication can be scary to some investors, but for people who have money, it's a great place to park their investment. When you are working with, say, flippers like me who do single family homes, and someone lends me money, say $100,000, it's a 6-month project. At the end of 6 months, they're like, oh, they earn their interest. So maybe they have, $115,000 now, whatever it is. And they're looking around, where can I park my money next to make it grow? So there's a lot more effort to it. So being in a syndication where they're in there for about 3 years, but in this case, it's a lifetime that you own the property. They park it somewhere, and it is a cash producing asset that is throwing money at them each quarter. I love it. And it's secured through real estate. You're talking about that one woman who had all of her money in the stock market, and it's so volatile. It can go up or down. It can be super successful, but your money, the future of your money, is in the hands of something else. Whereas in real estate, you have much more control over it. So I'm so glad you shared this project. Any other thing that you would do different since you've completed this project? Well, it's not completed, you still own it, but anything you do differently now?
Just make sure you have more money in line. I don't want to say don't trust people that they'll follow through, but always have a backup plan.
Absolutely.
You never know what's going to happen. And you don't want to be caught with your pants down.
Right.
Because you stopped working. So yeah, but this hands down was our best learning opportunity for sure.
And projects since then have been successful and gone smoothly. Well, nothing goes smoothly, but it's been better since then.
When things don't go as planned, it teaches you for the future how to avoid those pitfalls.
Absolutely.
And so we definitely haven't made those mistakes again. Different mistakes we've totally made, but not those ones.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Kaci, for sharing that. And thanks to Len and Corey, your partners. Shout out to them for this deal as well, even though they're not here sharing it. But the second half of the podcast is what makes Kaci a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Honestly, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yes. That's the purple Bible to all of us. We call it the purple Bible. Definitely.
I read that book, and that was my first introduction to all of this. And I was like, wow, this seems doable. And this seems like something that I could really sink my teeth into. And honestly, that was like my jumping stone, and, 50 books later.
Exactly. You know, it's so funny. I didn't read that book right away because I thought it was on parenting. I literally, I'm like, well, I don't have kids. I don't have kids. Why would I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? What is that about? You know, that
I love that.
All right. The first A in badass is advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So one of our very early mentors told us, say yes and figure it out later.
Very good. That is, don't say
it's
that to
amazing.
Vance. It'll make Vance like freak. He'll hyperventilate
It's
to say yes and then figure it out later.
So my two partners are engineers, which means they want to analyze their analyzations after they've analyzed them and then analyze them some more. They have analysis or paralysis by analysis like you wouldn't believe. So I am the complete opposite. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I can see where this is going. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yep.
So for them to hear that from like just a guy at the top of his game, it was game changing for us because they were like, okay, I mean, we can jump in. And so now it's kind of this joke. We're like, nope, say yes, figure it out later, especially if I see one of them hesitating.
That is fantastic. I'm going to share that one with Vance. All right. The D in badass is drive. What drives you to be successful?
My two little boys.
Aww.
I mean, I'm a single mom. I'm their everything. I need them to have the best life I can provide them.
And what happens? Because I feel like I got to ask parents this sometimes because that's very common for people who have kids is they want to create the legacy and everything. But what if they don't want to go into real estate?
That's fine.
You're just creating a bucket of passive income to just start throwing money at them.
So currently my 3-year-old who turns 4 next week, he wants to be a monster truck driver.
Nice.
Yeah. And my 5-year-old, he dropped the bomb on me yesterday that when he gets his driver's license, he wants a Mustang and a Corvette. So he's gonna need the income.
Very good. Well, they're smart boys. They have a smart mama. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that to someone who doesn't have children. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. I actually know a goal you're currently working on. I don't know if this is the one you're going to tell us, but what is a goal you're currently working on?
We want 800 units in 2 years.
That was not the goal I was thinking of. Okay, 800 units.
What was the goal you were thinking of?
Your social media. You've been busting your ass on social media doing that. So
I have.
Yeah.
That is a brand new one. Yeah, my little social media campaign is, it's getting me out of my comfort zone.
You've been doing a great job. I've been watching you. So you want 800 units within 2 years, and this social media is going to get you there, correct?
Yes, that's all the plan.
And
put myself out there. Yeah,
from social media, what is that going to bring in to help you get those 800 units?
So it's going to bring me a lot more connections. I put a post on a couple of days ago that says, hey, what do I do and do I help people? And everybody answered basically that I helped foster dogs and that I was a mom. Nobody knew that I was a real estate investor because I just don't talk about it. It's not like, to me, putting it on my personal social media, like I felt like I didn't want to rub it in anybody's face. Like, right. I'm not in the typical position that single moms my age are. Like, I 100% realize that. And I didn't want to be slimy about it. I didn't want to be like, hey, look at what I did. So this is really actually hard for me to talk about investing on my personal page. So, but it does get it out there. It brings it to light. It tells people what I'm doing. And that way, when I do have like my real estate connection friends on there, they know that we have projects going on. They know that if they're looking to park some money, that I'm going to have this project coming up for them.
The whole money thing was crazy to me with social media because like I put out that I needed a certain amount and it was someone from my past who like literally, it was just a Facebook post. This is what we're looking to borrow. You're going to be in second position on the loan. You're going to be secured by the deed on the property. And we're going to pay 10% interest. If you lend this amount, this is what you'll make. And within 3-4 minutes, I had someone, it was a friend of mine from my childhood who is in the real estate industry as well. She's a mortgage broker, a very successful mortgage broker in South Florida. And, she's like, I've been wanting to get into lending on real estate and getting into investments. And so you never know out there. And literally in that same post, about a week later, one of my former middle school teachers called me up and said, hey, I saw that so-and-so got, you're going to be using their money, but, I have some money that I want to invest as well. And it starts, snowballing, the snowball effect. And back in 2019, I remember a lot of our deals came from Facebook. So listeners, if you are hearing this, it is so beneficial to make sure everybody on your Facebook feed knows, or Instagram for you youngins, us, I prefer Facebook, but they know exactly what you do, and they're going to think of you first. That's the whole point with social media, to go to you first. If they want, maybe they are switching jobs, going from one job to another job in corporate America. And before they roll over that 401k from their previous job, why don't they roll into a self-directed IRA? And like your friend who had all of her money in the stock market, this at least gives them an avenue to invest their money how they want to do it and be in control of it. So, you are going to be the person that's going to help so many of your friends grow their finances, grow their nest egg, their retirement. So bravo to you for doing that and getting out of your comfort zone, because it isn't easy. It is not. So
it's been a challenge for sure.
And I saw Len do a video too, actually.
And Corey, they're all doing it. I miss
Corey. I don't know if I'm friends with Corey, but I did see that you said a goal is to have your dad do a TikTok video.
Okay, so my dad is 65, okay? He does not do social media at all, okay? So on his live the other day, he was talking about how he's got to step out of his comfort zone. He's got to get an Instagram and he's got to do a TikTok. And he goes, yeah, I can't see myself doing a TikTok dance, but I'm going to have TikTok. So now my only life goal is to have my dad do a TikTok dance. And it's going to happen. I am very, very determined person. I am going to make it happen.
And he is going to nail it, because I know him, and he's going to be fantastic. So, all right. The first S in badass is systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Honestly, all of our systems are based off of our goals. Our goals are super important to us. We have yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and we even go down to daily goals a lot of the times. And we just have so many things going on, and we have multiple markets. We're in 7 states. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. And so to keep all of it organized, we do a lot of, Google Drive stuff and everything, but every single thing is based off of our goals.
And do you have, meaning like you have certain benchmarks you have to meet? Is that like what your goals are structured as?
We do. We have a ton of KPIs.
Gotcha. And for the listeners, that's key performance indicators. So they're easily trackable. So awesome. That is super important to keep monitoring. We suck at documenting our KPIs. So maybe I need you to share some systems with me, but
I'll send you our spreadsheet.
fans love spreadsheets. I'm starting to love spreadsheets.
See, my partners, they're engineers, and they will spreadsheet and graph everything. And I'm like, yeah, just
do you do Gantt charts? Is that what they're called? Do you know what I'm talking about? That's like the calendar thing and then it does it by, anyway, I don't want to get into that. But it is something I would like to learn as well, just because it's good for contractors to keep them on schedule and everything. All right. I just don't want this podcast to end. The final S in badass is success. What does success mean to Kaci Janson?
Really, honestly, it's just when I get to the point that I have the time and the means to be 100% present for my boys. When I am able to, like, tomorrow at 10 a.m., I am going to read to my youngest preschool class because it's National Reading Week.
Aw.
On Tuesdays, I volunteer at my oldest school for, lunchroom helper. Like, to me, when I can do anything I want for them, that's when I have become successful for myself.
Well, I see you reaching that very soon because you are such a go-getter. I was just drawn to your personality and I just knew we would be lifelong friends. And by the way, are you going to the Denver convention?
I believe so.
Or conference?
Yes, I am thinking so. And then I need to get all the information on the trip we're going to go on in the fall.
The Jamaica trip?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay, good. So, see, y'all, you're just listening in on our conversation here. But thank you so much. How would listeners find you? Maybe they want to be part of this syndication. How would they find you to learn more about your company? Like on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Kaci Janson. And
that's Kaci.
Mm-hmm. And Janson. And yeah, or you can email me. I'm at Kaci@renopropertybuyers.com.
Wonderful. Well, I thank you so very much. I'm so excited to have you in RAIN as well. We're going to get you speaking at some RAIN events and teaching all of us about syndications and the mistakes not to make. And yes. Listeners, thank you. That is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.